Welcome to the Listening Heart Podcast,
where we take a moment to truly listen, explore, and connect with the stories and experiences that matter most.
We're your hosts, Brian and Summer Smith.
So, wherever you are, take a deep breath, open your heart, and let's begin this journey of listening and discovery together. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Listening Heart Show. We are your hosts,
Brian and Summer Smith. Hey, episode
10. Episode 10. Look, let's do this one for the 10. 10.
Okay.
So we have a wonderful show today. We don't know how it's gonna go, so I do have my popcorn. Because it's gonna be very interesting. So we want to welcome our guests. Let me pull it up here. So we're gonna be talking about, what is our topic?
Divorce.
Bruised but not broken. Navigating life after divorce. And so we have Xavier Como Jr., who we affectionately call CJ, and Brittany Nicholson, and we call her Brittany or Nikki. So welcome on the Listening Heart Show.
Hello.
Oh, everyone, their brother and sister.
I'm glad you said that, because I was about to say I was not married to that man.
Consider yourself blessed. I'm going just to know me.
Yeah. Interesting conversation today. It's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So, first, let's talk to Brittany first. Just tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your divorce story.
Okay. Well, I actually I will be 39 in a couple of days.
Happy birthday!
Yeah.
Climbing that ladder, isn't she?
Anyway, let's see. I got married at 22 years old. I was married for 14 years. It did end in divorce, unfortunately, but I would say through my just my divorce and after my divorce, the Lord has showed me things and how to, maybe some things that I wasn't quite ready for, or how to be a wife. I think by the time I was really learning how the Lord expects me to be a wife, my marriage was kind of ending at that point. But I would like to help others before they get married, so they don't have to go through that covenant breaking, because it really is like a death. So that's kind of why I want to talk about my story, just so others don't have to experience some of the things I did, or just so you can marry properly, and how the Lord expects us to act as husband and wives. So that is a little bit about me. I'm also a mother of 4, and I have 3 boys, 1 girl, and yeah, I'm pursuing nursing right now, so that's wonderful.
All
And that is
right. I didn't know that. Fun fact.
yes. I actually start school next week, so the Lord has brought me to Collins to be a nurse. Like, I want to help people through their worst times, because I've been in that situation, and I believe that's where the Lord has me right now.
That's awesome. I didn't know that. Congratulations. I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
Okay. CJ, tell us a little bit about yourself and your divorce story.
My name is CJ, or professionally Xavier.
Yeah.
But no, so I got married a little bit later. I got married originally back in 2017. I was 32. When I got married, I stayed married for a little less. I was only married for about 3 years. And I got married at a time to when I feel that most people kind of fall into the trap of, in a sense of, you're getting older. You're getting older. Life is kind of starting to pass you by. You need to go ahead and lay some roots where there's nothing wrong with that. But obviously, your partner who you pick is very important. And more importantly, do you know yourself? And I think so many times you try to place age ramifications on marriage when really there is no age ramifications. When you know yourself and where you are and where your partner is nobody knows a different answer to that. That the answer is different for everybody. And so I kind of thought I was getting older, so I ended up getting married. Um, and at the time I got married, and she already had a child, and so I became a stepfather in that situation. Which I felt good about, which I thrived in. It's just there were things about my marriage I felt that I obviously I could have done better as being the man. What I do like about this position is you can hear things from my sister's standpoint and my standpoint being the man, her being the female standpoint about marriage. But it is what I still consider today to be a wonderful institution. Absolutely. Would I want to be married again? Absolutely. I think it's something that you learn from. You kind of navigate as far as being honest with yourself and being transparent
Oh, for
about
sure.
where you are. So you got to be honest about where you are and what you're needing. And I feel a lot of times we don't get that, especially kind of growing up in church. I think we kind of talk about marriage, but then again, we talk about it in sometimes in fearful ways, not
Mm.
always a
So
faithful way.
explain that. You said fearful ways.
I
Yes,
I would like to sorry to interrupt. I like to say I agree with you. We talk about it, but we don't really talk about it till after we're married.
correct. And I agree with my sister. Like, we talk about marriage, and one thing that we've been blessed is we've been blessed to have our parents who've been married for a long time. The different platform that our parents had was they went when they were in Christian college, and they kind of were on the same path for our
Mm.
spiritual and the same foundation.
Mm.
And we live in a world right now today is where there's so many different foundations. Even a person could say they're from a spiritual background, but then again, that can mean two totally different things. And so you got
Right.
to really kind of dive into that to know what it is. But yes, I think we kind of speak more on, to go back to what I was saying, more of marriage in a fearful way and not a faithful way. So that's something I had to learn, especially being a man and trying to lead. That's something I had to learn. But anyway, that's kind of my story. I ended up getting divorced back in 2020, and it's been on a journey for me, just kind of knowing myself and knowing what I need and trying to be the man God will have me to be. So if the Lord says the same again, I'll be more prepared.
Mm. That's good. So when you said a fearful way and not a faithful way, what can you expound on that?
Well, Nick, did you want to go first, and I'll back up what you say?
I think maybe what he mean by fearful way. I think a lot of us get married because sex is a big part of it, and you don't want to
Mm.
be doing things
Burn.
out here
Right.
fornicating. So you're getting
Gotcha.
married, you want to do it the Lord's way instead
Mm-hmm.
of being faithful, waiting for the sake, waiting for these things, waiting to see if this is your person. um
Gotcha.
Waiting to see if you both are in within the Lord's boundaries, because we both know intimacy and sex, it clouds situations. You're not seeing things clearly, you're not seeing red flags, or you're not seeing who you are, who they are, if you guys are compatible in the Lord. So I'm assuming that's what you mean by fearful. You don't want to be living outside of God's will, so you need to hurry up and get married, when really you don't want to live outside his will, so y'all need to stop. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? If you
Mhm.
living with somebody, you just need to move out until that time. If we was
Right.
oh, we just think marriage is a fix everything, and really marriage exposes everything. It doesn't.
Mm.
If you're not ready for it, it's going to show you. So I think we need to stop using marriage as a band-aid,
Mm.
and then we just both live in God's will until we're ready to get married.
That's
And
good. Hmm.
yeah,
Go
and
ahead.
I agree with her. Go ahead.
No, I said go ahead. You were getting
Oh
ready to
no,
say
I was gonna say just kind of go with Nick. I agree. I think we use kind of marriage as a fearful tool, because sex is obviously a big thing from a spiritual realm. We look at that as, oh my God, I don't want to keep having sex outside of marriage. So then we use that as a tool to kind of jump into it without knowing each other. And then, like kind of nowadays, we live more in an environment where people tend to live with a person before they get married. So then for us, we already know that'd be shacking. I mean, the one thing you don't want to be doing is shacking. They look at you like sinners.
right.
So they use that. So people use that as tools to kind of like, man, I need to hurry up and make a decision on what I'm doing. But then again, we really don't kind of dive into marriage, not necessarily and here's the world we live in right now. I feel we kind of look at the other person, not necessarily ourselves first. Like, am I ready for marriage? Am I in a position where I'm ready to go ahead and bring someone into my world and my space where me and God reside? Because if I'm looking to bring a wife, I need to bring her to that area where me and God are. And so am I ready to bring her in there so she can know that we're striving to move to get to God together? And so that's something that when I got married, I knew how to bring God up in the forefront, but really he was in the back. So I can tell you about God up front, but really how I was moving, putting him behind me and not really moving. I wasn't following him the way I need to be correct. So I wasn't doing that. I knew the right words to say, which I feel some of us know the right words, but we don't have the right actions. And so that's what I knew. So that's one thing I definitely do regret. I feel like God put me in my position the way I did because I did not lead effectively. Not saying I didn't have some great examples. I did, but I did not follow because after a while you kind of let life and fear get in the way of saying what you should be doing, even though you might have had some good examples of what he's done given, we kind of can deviate. So that's what I did. So I let fear kind of lead me in that path. Especially fear, because the first thing we always think is I don't want to go to hell.
Right.
But then here's the thing about it: we don't want to go to hell, but then again, you in a covenant with another person that's supposed to be for you, that person, and God. That's even more serious. So it's something we don't talk about how serious that is when it comes to marriage. But yeah, we can allow fear to lead us into bad decisions rather than having faith, and more importantly, talking about our faith, because we get into these relationships and we don't really talk about our faith as much. So, but yeah, so fear was a big thing where I felt led me down a path that I didn't want to go, that I should not have went down initially without being better prepared.
I will also say when I got married, I had, like I said, I had my second child. I wasn't married. Of course I loved him, but I was like, I can't, like, this is my second kid, out of wedlock. Like, I can't live like this, and I'm like, no, like, we get married or there's just nothing else. So I think I want to say that I would say that kind of really drove my decision as well. Of course I loved him, so I'm not gonna say that totally I loved him, but that really drove my decision as well. Instead of me, not committing, instead of me just saying, okay, I just need to stop. I need to stop. I need to follow God. And if that leads us, I need to start being in God's will within his boundaries that he set for us. I need to stop doing these things and living this way. But no, I just got married. You know what I'm saying? And just without
I have that.
discernment.
I have a divorce story. I don't know if our listeners know, but I was married before I married Brian, and was divorced. And so my story is I had a child with this person, and at the time we decided to, later, after other relationships and things like that, we got back together, and we decided that this was the thing to do because we had a child together. It just made sense, and I felt that we loved each other, and we and it was sort of, again, like, okay, this is the next step, kind of like, okay, we're a family that we've already done something out of order. Let's make it right. So in our minds, or my mind, I would say, because I can only speak for myself, I'm thinking this is gonna make it right, that us getting married. And so, and that didn't make it right.
Yeah.
And I realized that later on. And I think you're right. Like, we do it out of fear. Like, my fear of, and I didn't even think about it until just now. Like, the fear of not having a complete family, or the fear of what other people would think, kind of
Mhm.
sort of thing too. Um, but yeah, it was. I realized too afterwards that I wasn't ready. I thought that I was ready to be a wife. Um, but one thing, I don't think that we were equally yoked. And that is a big deal.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't think, we kind of, we say it, but I don't think that we actually like, okay, what does that mean for us? Like, what does that mean for me? What is God telling me or leading me? Like, this is my equal yoked person.
Mhm.
We're on the same level. And I don't know, that I learned a lot too. Like I said, after the divorce, like, oh, I could have done these things while I was,
Mhm.
these are the things that I could have done. I could have, you know, um, sought God more. I could have, been a better wife in certain areas. But I also realized that it's not just one person either in a marriage. You know what I mean? Like, you both make this promise, you both make this covenant. And also too, covenant is important. Like, I believe we have to understand what a covenant is, a covenant
Mhm.
with God is. And I think that, like you said, we kind of talk about it sort of after you get married, but if you realize what that covenant really is, really means, then I think a lot of people won't get married. Not that what they won't get married at all, but they'll really be thinking about, okay, wait a minute, I can't get, no, I'm not going to get with you because this is a covenant that I'm making with God,
Mhm.
and that's it's important. It's serious.
Yeah.
So
I would
yeah.
like to say something about what you said,
Mhm.
Summer, when you said you wasn't ready to be a wife. I think definitely as women, as we grow up, we always imagine this fairy tale. We're always thinking of our wedding day from a little girl. To a man, I don't think they think of it like that, but we're always thinking of these things, but not realizing it's so much that goes into being a wife. When I got married for the first 3 months, I literally suffered in silence. Mind you, I had a 5-year-old, I had a newborn, and now I have a husband. I gotta cook, I gotta clean. He's going to work, and my daughter's up all night. And when we finally get sleep, now my son's getting off the school bus. I got to get him ready to start his homework. But then an hour or two later, my husband's coming home. I got to, have food prepared for him. Like, I literally suffered in silence for like 3 months. I literally had no idea what it was to be a wife. And I think because we think we're growing up thinking, oh, I'm gonna have this color dress, or I'm gonna imagine my wedding day. And we're just thinking of a day. We're not thinking of
The rest
marriage.
of my
You
life,
know?
right, right.
Right. And I think women, I think sometimes we give ourselves that false sense that oh, I want to be a wife. I'm ready to be a wife. You really have no idea what it is to be a wife, or what it takes to be a wife. You know what it is to submit to submit to a man, because we are supposed to be the submissive. I mean, he is too, but to God. But we are supposed to be submissive unto him, like the church is to Christ. And if you think about how the church is submissive to Christ, the church gives Christ all authority.
Mm-hmm.
We listen to his authority, his dominion. This is how we're supposed to be to our husbands. We supposed to be giving him authority and dominion. That's how we're supposed to be. We live within his principles, in his examples. That's how the church submits to Christ. The church consider Christ the head of all. If there's a problem in the church, we're going right to that word.
Right,
You know,
right.
because we submit to that word. We
Mm-hmm.
submit to Christ's examples. And I don't think we as women understand that until, for sometimes, until it's too late, unfortunately, or until we're in it. Like, this is hard. This is hard work to, definitely, if I think my ideas are better, to submit to his ideas, to put him
What? No, I'm just kidding.
to put him over me. And I'm not saying like my opinions don't matter, but
Mm-hmm.
I am elevating him above me. I'm putting him in that position to where he is above me. I'm elevating him. If I accept his proposal, then I am putting him above myself. So
Mm-hmm.
if I don't want to live within, and I don't really want to say, just, it's going to come out sounding harsh, But that's just because we think, I'm not saying that we don't have a voice, because we do have a voice. And a man, you are supposed to consult each other. But God, just like God establishes boundaries for the church, the man establishes the home.
Mhm.
Christ established the church. So he is supposed to establish the home, provide for the home. So I'm supposed to live kind of within his establishment. Of course, if there's problems, he's supposed to love me and consult me. But
Mhm.
I am supposed to be submissive to him. So those first 3 months, three to 5, 6 months, I suffered because I was like, I just don't know how I can have dinner ready and be up with this baby all night long.
It's in
But
your
see,
blood.
that's where communication comes in too.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that we do have these ideas of, okay, this is what marriage is supposed to be. I'm supposed to be doing this. I'm supposed to be doing that. But every marriage looks different. You know what I
Correct.
mean?
It
Like,
does.
that's where communication comes. I'm struggling with this. Can you help?
Right.
I think we get so caught up in sometimes in like certain roles, you
Gender
know,
roles.
right, gender roles, but sometimes, you know, the wife might be better at math, or
Hmm.
what I mean, doing the bills, or the husband might be better. They might be a better cook. Like
Yes.
my father was an awesome cook. You know what I mean? And he
Exactly.
cooked the meals.
Hmm.
So it doesn't always have to look like somebody else's marriage,
Right.
but it's how God is leading you as a couple, because you're one. You know what I
Right.
mean? Also, too, what I wanted to say to you is, yes, we do need to submit. Women need to submit,
Hmm.
but the Bible also tells men to submit, the
Right.
husbands to submit. And
Right.
I think that if we
Submit to
thought
who?
about, yes, it does. It
Like,
does.
yes, it does.
You
Submit
know
Submit
to
it
to
the
who?
does.
Lord.
Listen.
To who?
So,
Not to Christ.
There we go. I just want to make sure we get
Yes,
clarification.
to Christ. But you know
submit to
what?
But
one.
you know,
Also says to submit to one another.
but
Yes.
So, but before before you do that, I wanted to just point out that for women, because I don't want women to get twisted or anything like that. If when you think about that submission, that should make you think about this man. Okay,
Oh,
so
for
if
sure.
I'm submitting to this man, is this man submitted to Christ?
Hmm.
Is this man submitted to Christ? Because he has a role as well. He needs to be submitted to Christ. And then I'm submitting to him, and we both work on this submission, together. But
Right.
if he's not submitted to Christ, that's a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother
Well,
I
unequally yoked.
agree. It's
if
a
you
whole
think
nother
now, if you
thing. However, it's still called for us to submit to him.
I agree.
And we are
Yeah.
supposed to submit to each other. But
Right.
even if he's out of alignment, we're
Mm-hmm.
still under, like, even if this is God, man, woman, if he comes out of alignment, I'm still supposed to be submissive into Christ. His
That's true.
actions and words should not change how I am as a wife,
Oh,
because
for
my
sure.
submission is still under Christ, and in reality, if you make me mad, I'm gonna be mad too. So I can't, I understand those feelings. Um, However, what you said is true. It should cause you to think of the man, because if I don't trust your thoughts in dating, no way I should be marrying you, because I don't trust your thoughts in our marriage. If I
Right.
don't respect you, if I think ain't no way I'm listening, because that's where I failed as a wife. I didn't trust his thoughts. I didn't trust his leadership.
Mhm.
I didn't trust nothing he said. So there's no way I should have been marrying him, because there's no way I'm going to submit to someone I don't trust or
Right.
respect.
Mhm.
That's, but the Lord showed me those things afterwards, like where I I never respected him. So there's no way I should marry a man I don't respect, because then how I'm gonna submit to him? You know,
Right.
if I have doubts already, you really ain't gonna submit to him in marriage.
That's
But
it.
understand something. I want us to also understand that the world we live in, we've allowed culture to affect spiritual. And so when
Yeah.
I say we don't allow our culture to affect spiritual, to where we feel marriage has become this battleground of woman authority over man authority. It's not a battle. It's supposed to be, you're right. It's supposed to be an alliance. It's supposed to be where God is head. It's supposed to be where then the
That's
husband
a beautiful
is.
thing.
It's supposed to be a beautiful thing, like I said, well, God is over all, but then the husband is the head, and the wife is right there, and the wife is with her husband. But understand something, that's our culture right now has made that such a battleground where it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be in coherence and one another. It's supposed to glorify God, which is what a
Right.
marriage is supposed to do. So as a man, you are right. My job is to make sure, because and honestly, the man's role is extremely tough in a marriage. And when I say that, I'm going to speak from a man's role, because the Bible tells us to love the wife in Ephesians chapter 5 verse 23, as Christ loves the church. I mean, I'm always supposed to love her. And so sometimes, first of all, I'll tell any woman, if a man doesn't understand that and he wants you to lead or wants you to be up under him, then he doesn't know how to effectively love you correctly, because I shouldn't be yelling, submit to me, yet I'm not trying to love you as Christ loved the church. So make sure that the man that you're getting is striving to love you as Christ loved the church, and he understands how he's supposed to do it. But like I said,
Yeah,
I
you
think,
should explain how Christ loved the church.
I mean,
So you know what love is.
I mean, yeah. So as everybody know, Christ loved his church. That he died. He gave up his life for the church. He sacrificed for the church. Everything he did was about doing his Father's will. To make sure everything else. He made sure that he didn't even come first. That God's so good that he didn't even put himself first. He put us at the church first. He put service first over everything else. So a man's role is not. Sometimes I think a man get the role like it gotta be easy, or the women won't cook and clean. No, because as we already know, when it came to Adam and Eve, God came for Adam first. When disobedience came, he didn't come for Eve, he came for Adam. And I feel as man, we need to make sure we understand our role, because our role is extremely important to make sure, understand that most of the functions that a man go through, whether it's going to be an elder, a deacon, those are qualifications based off his home. So you got to make sure as a man that you're leading your home effectively. And then I need to make sure me and my wife are on one accord. I need to make sure that me and her are doing the same. I need to make sure I'm listening to her as far as make sure that she's okay, because we're mirroring one another as we're striving to grow together in Christ. So that's extremely important. Like I said, I think culture has kind of affected marriage to where we kind of, with our culture, kind of made it more of a battleground versus something that's supposed to be a beautiful thing that really supposed to be a symphony of harmony and love and growing in God. But it's not about man versus woman. Because there is, I told anybody, a lion and a lioness, they're not natural adversaries. A lion doesn't worry about a lioness. That's naturally his partner. That's the one who he goes ahead and grows with. So I'd say within our culture, one thing I said my marriage that affected us most was we end up kind of having a battleground marriage, because she wanted to be this independent aspect of it. And then I'm like, no, we're more of a team. But when you don't come from that, you won't know that. When you only come from an independent mindset, you're not thinking about team mindset. You're thinking, well, you're trying to outshine me, outdo me. No, I'm your partner. So my job is to work with us as a team and to lead us effectively. But I think so, and I just have to say, so sometimes I think our biggest thing is we have cultures that affected our marriage so much, marriages so much, that we feel like it's more of a battleground where it shouldn't be. Right. So we try to define our role and say, well, no, I'm gonna do it. I'm the man. You go here, or well, I'm the woman. You don't listen to me. I need to point out, when we start bickering with one another, we're not gonna get to where God would have us to be. And I love what Nikki did. I love what Nikki said. Nikki said that she didn't. It's not about what the man does, it's about what she does as a woman of God. Because here's the thing about it. If I'm saying, well, God, the woman didn't do what I was supposed. She was supposed to do. God said, I called you to be the man. I called you to be the leader. And what the woman said, well, the man, God says, I called you to be a woman I will have you to be, to help him. Maybe he did fall off. Maybe your job is to bring him back on that path. Now, understand something. We're talking about two people who supposedly started out on the same path. Now, because a lot of times we get in marriages right now where those people are not on the same foundation. So I'm up here speaking to you about God and stuff like that. And that's the problem with the afterthought. I'm now bringing God and my faith into it. And I'm in this marriage. And they don't know nothing about what I'm talking about. Right. Now I'm in a marriage. Now I'm in the Bible calls a foreign marriage. I'm in a foreign marriage where I'm speaking something you don't even understand. And so now we don't even get on the same path, because we were never on the same path to begin with. And now we know what most of Christians do. And I'll even say for myself, I got into a marriage where that person was on the same path. So now I'm speaking something totally different that she knows nothing about. So now I can't even bring it back into alignment, because we were never aligned in the first place.
Right. Can I say something to that? I'm so sorry. When he calls me Nikki, he's talking about me. But anyway, I want to just say something to what you said. Y'all, you speaking something that they don't even know. If you take that back to the Tower of Babel, God had to confuse the language, because he said they can do anything they want because they speak the same language. They are powerful because they speak the same language. So God went down there and confused them, and then they had to scatter. So if we're not speaking the same language, we're in confusion. We're going to scatter. But because they spoke the same language, the Lord said, "Oh, nothing will be above them." they can
Nothing
accomplish
they can
anything
accomplish.
together.
Yeah, they can
Yeah,
accomplish.
they can accomplish anything together. So definitely what today said, if we don't even know the same language, the same communication, it's going to be confusion throughout the whole house. And I also want to say another thing, the way he said how Christ loved the church, how God commands a man to love his wife. Christ loved the church in service. He loved
Mm,
the church. He healed the church. He removed demons from the church. He spoke life to death situations. If you are not ready to heal her, if you are not ready to serve her, if you are not ready to speak life to her death, to her situations, then you're not ready to marry her. Christ loved her. Christ loved the church in service. He led by serving. That was his love. That's how he showed his love. He was patient. He was kind. So many times the disciples were out of pocket with him. He
yes.
he was kind of he spoke truth to their situations. And I think that's how a man is supposed to love a woman. He's supposed to heal her, to serve her, to be in service to her. If we think about how Christ established the church, he established the church through his death, through his blood, through his shedding. That's how
Mm,
he established the church. So
And
uh
I'll jump
you
on that
know,
real quick. I say, and a man shouldn't be afraid to do that. And when I say should be afraid to do that, sometimes they might not agree. She might not agree with the path that we're going to go on together. But I need
mm,
to understand if this is the path that God have us on, then we need to be able to talk about that. Say, I'm leading the way God wants me to lead. Sometimes I feel as men nowadays we may become more softer. Because you know what, when I grew up in a time, remember a famous saying, happy wife, happy life.
mhm.
Man, if the wife is happy, man, the whole house is good. And then I got married and found out that was not true. I
no.
mean, because Lord, she up here happy, I'm up here just as frustrated, and I am just irritated. Like what? But she's happy, you know what I'm saying? But and I'm up here like, oh no. And so
Oh
hell
man.
no. And I found somebody who once said, a happy man is God's plan. But here's one thing I
Mm,
found out: it's not about battling each other, like I said, but it's about being where God will have us to be. But then as a man, I gotta make sure I'm speaking the way that God would have me to speak in my home. I'm
Mhm.
doing it, I'm leading my home the way God, even if she may not understand that first. When it comes to Job was going through some situations right now, and his wife cursed him for following
mm,
God. But as God's man, he says, nah, this is what I'm supposed to do. And
mm,
Nikki brought up a good point about Jesus. Even though it got tough with the disciples and the apostles, what was going on, Jesus knew what his mission was, and he didn't deviate from his mission, whatever. So as men, we must strive always to love God, which will then help us love our wife better, but to help lead us, like I said, trying to get to heaven to where and I'm not trying to, I know how to love her, I know how to engage her, but I want her to understand that I'm striving to lead us where God would have us to. But in my leadership, I also am able to speak with her because she's my partner. Understand something that me and her are a team. So she knows me. She should know me better. I was talking to a couple the other day about being each other's best friends, and I
mm,
didn't know what that was until I got divorced. When I got divorced, my wife was not my best friend. When I got married, she was not my best friend. I didn't even treat her as a best friend. I thought I had my best friends, my boys, and then I had
mm,
my wife. And I didn't even give her that title of best friend. But then finally, when I had to learn, you have to speak to someone. You have to be intentional too. A man has to be intentional. So when I speak,
right.
if anyone I'm talking to right now, there's a lady I'm courting right now. I'm talking to right now, but I speak to her intentionally, as in a sense that I want her to know. I want her to be my best friend. I want
Mm,
her to know me better than anybody else because our goal is to strive to get to heaven. And
mm,
and I told her, I mean, my main goal is one of the reasons why I really am and courting her and I care for the way I do because I feel me and her can get to heaven together. So a man must be intentional, but just to bring that back, yes. So a man must be intentional, absolutely. But like I said, a man must understand too. Like I said, don't be lackadaisical. You must lead, and there's nothing wrong with like leading in the Lord, but you can't do that with a soft back.
mm.
You gotta be firm, like I said, because sometimes I think where some men have got used to making a wife so happy, which is not a bad thing, but I can't let that separate our relationship with God and what God wants us to do as a couple. So,
Mhm.
I
and I'm
agree because you're
assuming,
supposed to wash her with the word.
right. And if I'm not doing that correct, then I'm
Not
still
beat her with the word,
Right.
no,
Wash her.
but
because that's different. Because
because
there's some people that's like, no, this. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
yeah,
but also that's not even what Christ did. Christ didn't beat people with what he said. All Christ did was he spoke it out of love. Now he told you what. Now he meant what he said, and and I think, but he spoke it with love. That's how we're supposed to be as
Yeah,
Christians today. We can
right.
disagree on something, but I'm supposed to speak to you with love and wanting us to get better, especially as a married couple. But kind of go back, like I said, we can be talking like this all day, but if we're not on the same path, it won't matter. If you're
Right.
literally in a marriage, and that point, I had to really, because I know we're gonna be posting that part of the divorce aspect. Because I can let you know right now, when I got divorced, man, that hurt, because in my family, that's just something we don't do. Like, we grew
Mhm.
up in a family where divorce is not something that you're not supposed to do at all. And so,
Well, divorce hurts anyway. Like it's like a death, like
It
you
is.
you,
yeah,
if you grieve, like you go through the cycle of grief, the steps of grief. It's supposed to hurt because you're tearing one person in half, like
right.
that is the hurt, that you have. Everything that you poured into this relationship, your whole self, is now all of your hopes and dreams for this relationship is dead. That it's hurtful.
No, it is, and it's gonna hurt when you marry somebody you weren't supposed to be with in the first place. Even when you marry somebody, I mean, supposed to be not be with. But that's how we need to take it more seriously about marriage. How serious marriage is, because sometimes you ever look at somebody and be like, "Yeah, you don't get divorced. They weren't no good in the first place."
Right.
And sometimes you know what, you gotta have some people ready back who in your corner ready to tell you the truth. Like, hey, I don't think
That's
that's it, dog. Spiritually, a good
You gotta
spiritual brother and
listen.
sister, because sometimes we don't like to listen to. Sometimes we become so stubborn in our mindset because I'm gonna marry this person no matter what I do. Y'all can't tell me who to love. Okay,
that's what I did.
yeah, So, but we
Not
gotta
now.
be,
Yeah,
no, yeah.
bring it
I'm
up.
not saying, Brian, it's all right, man. It's all right,
Thank you.
dog.
Thank you.
But that's a good question. Okay, so there's probably people out there who are getting divorced right now or even thinking about getting married. So what would be some things that some gems that you would give to them, to the people who are thinking about getting married? Like, what should they be thinking about? And the people who are getting divorced, we'll talk about that later, because I think that's a whole nother thing. Because once you are divorced, there's some things I think that you need to kind of go through. So let's talk about
Yeah.
the first, before you get married. There's some people thinking about getting married. They're the ones like, yeah, we get married. No matter what people think, we get married. Like, what should they think about?
Or how do they know that they're ready?
That's good. How did they know that they're ready?
How do you know that you're even ready to even start dating to even get to that part? Because I think that's what I asked you earlier.
Well, that was like after divorce. That was a good question too. He asked me like after divorce, like how did I know that I was ready to even start dating? How did I know that I was healed enough to
not
to
like
start
healed
dating?
completely, but just healed enough where I won't put myself back out there to even start dating.
That's a lot of questions. So what questions are we
I
answering right
think
now?
Well, but I think what Brian says first of all is a very important thing too. When we talk about, because I think a lot of time we get in our minds that you got to be this full healing process. There's no such thing as you're going to be 100%. You're not going to be 100%. There's still going to be things that can linger in your mind. There are some things you would have grown and got past, but still in your mind you can probably carry, because the devil's good. He'll try to nip at your heels with some things and throw some stuff. So I think you're never completely healed, but you got to also know if you're in a good place to be ready to date someone. And I think for me, the first thing too is, are you open up to being vulnerable? Because if you're not open up to being vulnerable right now, then we can't really engage. So
That's for both parties, right? The
yeah,
man
both
and
parties. Yeah,
yeah.
I gotta know, are we both ready to be vulnerable? Because I think a lot of times we carry bad, negative things into relationships, and because past relationships or past marriages or whatever. And if you're not ready to be vulnerable right now, then we're not in a position where we need to go forward. Because you're not even ready in that space right now where you're ready to allow someone to kind of fill in and maybe even go through some of those scar areas, because you got to go through my scars, and some of my scars, am I ready to talk about them? Am I ready to reveal them? And if I'm not ready to be vulnerable to me, which is the first step, then we don't need to talk. Then I'm not ready. If I'm not ready to truly be vulnerable and let someone into my world and my past pain and my hurts, my happiness, my pain, everything I've been through. So that's one thing for me. I know, Nikki, you
I
about to say something?
think I would say so after my divorce, I think the Lord took me through a lot and reflected on myself. Reflecting on how I could be a better wife or how maybe I wasn't a wife. And just I had to be I just don't think if you're honest with yourself through your marriage because it's not just one party's fault. So in my marriage there was alcohol abuse. And so it was easy to say, oh, he broke the marriage because of alcoholism, because alcoholism is a very big thing. But if I wasn't honest about the things that I wasn't doing right, actually I didn't even really know I was dramatic until I was 30. You know,
What?
I
I
mean,
knew
I
that
heard
was
people
you
say I was
born.
dramatic, but I didn't realize it was something I really needed to work on. Like,
Hold
you
on,
know,
wait. If y'all are listening, can y'all tell that she's dramatic?
Boy, her
Just
whole life.
but I didn't think it was an issue. I'll say that. And then I had to realize when I was 30,
She don't want
like,
to
maybe
listen. Dramatic.
this is a problem with you. Like it's starting to affect my life and I by myself. You know, I can't blame it on him no more. Like, because there's no one there. Like, girl, you really are dramatic. You need to start working on that and start working on. And I think my dramaticness affected my attitude because I thought something was so huge. So then my attitude got so huge. And it really wasn't that big a deal after all, you know? Um, and since I knew, since the Lord was working on me, how I wasn't a wife, I think once you're ready to be that person that the Lord has showed you, like once you're a husband, then you could be ready to go be a husband. Once you're a wife, then you could be ready to go be a wife. You know, you got to have these qualities before you get married because they don't just appear magically in marriage. Once I know that love is patient, love is kind, love doesn't keep record of wrong because I did that all the time. I was always tit for tat. Oh, you did this to me today? I'm gonna do you to you tomorrow so you can see how it feels. You know, once I learned that love was it didn't
love and
boast.
hate.
Yeah, it wasn't envy. Like, why am I low key mad because you got a position or something? You know, once I learned that, and let me tell you, I'm still working on patience. Okay, but the Lord has really shown me where I'm not patient at. So once I really know what love is, once I know that, and I tell my kids all the time when they say they love me, they like, I was like, you don't know love mean because you don't know what it means. They like, mom, it means sacrifice. Once I'm ready to sacrifice, once I'm ready to put someone above myself, and you know that already, you can go do some ministries out here single and see if you're ready for that. Because there
Yeah.
are some ministry you helping homeless people and everything that it calls you to go beyond yourself. You know, and it's nothing wrong if you're not in that season of your life yet. Just don't get married because you're not ready for it yet. If you don't know that, if you don't know that love is forgiveness, if you don't know that marriage, if you're not ready to forgive every day, if you're not ready to be married. If you're not ready to wake up and forget what they said to you yesterday, you're not ready to be married.
Woo.
You know, if you don't know these definitions of love, which is in found in 1 Corinthians 13, I would say don't do it. And there's nothing wrong that you're not ready for that. It's something wrong if you do it and you're not ready. If you're not ready to withhold some things, you know, to discipline yourself, then there's no way you're gonna be disciplined in marriage. You know, because if you're not ready for a thing, I think that's how you know if you're ready. If you be like, okay, the Lord has showed me these things about myself. I have actively been working on them. I'm ready to be vulnerable. I'm ready to be loved. I'm ready to love. I'm ready to be patient, kind. You know, I'm ready to put someone above myself because that's literally what you're doing. If you're not ready to die to yourself,
Mm.
then you're not ready to get married because it causes you to push past yourself. You know, it
Right.
causes you to think of this person above yourself. That's really what
Yeah.
marriage is. That it causes you to do these things.
Right. Oh,
So
that's
so
good, Nikki.
yeah, so much we want marriage because we want to be loved. But baby, you got to give that same love, you know?
If not
Y-
more.
Yes.
Right.
Uh,
It's
Oof.
not
Yeah.
just out, and you get lonely, you want to feel loved, you want to go out, you want to do all these things, but just be ready to do those things for the other person as well, even when they upset you.
Right.
Really,
Oh, so
like, you
you
know
gotta have
what?
grace and mercy. That was
Yes,
that's
yes,
those are woo.
yes. You go in that room, you pray, you take a minute, and you ready to go out there and be a partner again. Because one thing I learned, I don't want to sit in the house to where we're not talking to each other because we mad about something from a week ago. Like, what? Why
Right.
are we still mad about this? Like,
Mm-hmm.
get over. Like, it's so some fights you realize ain't even worth it. You know, it's
but and that's also you gotta be ready to, like I said, allow someone in who's ready to to challenge those things in you. Because see, sometimes we don't want nobody to challenge us. And see,
Right.
when I've come to learn that a real marriage, something, a real partner, they're going to challenge you. If you're striving
Iron
to be
sharpen
that,
iron.
that you're going to be that man of God, that woman of God, we're going to challenge each other, not in a bad way, but challenge each other to be better in God, so our
Right.
marriage can be better. And if
Right.
I'm not ready to be challenged, then no, I shouldn't even be looking, trying to dating or engaging someone after I've been divorced or been out of a bad relationship, because you're going to have to be challenged. You know, a good partner is going to challenge you, because if I want you to be the best woman of God, why would I not encourage that in you? Why would I not encourage you to make sure you're in these events or make sure this? Because y'all say, hey, aren't you striving to be the woman God would have you to be? And I'm saying it's love. And vice versa, I want you to challenge me. If I'm not leading the way I'm supposed to, I'm like, you know what? I didn't get up like I supposed to today for church. You tell me, you know what? You didn't get up, like, ugh, you know what? She's right. And I got to eat that. But I think one thing, and I think what Nikki talked about too, is self-reflection is a real big thing. So that's one thing that being divorced has taught me, is you got to be able to hold that mirror up and really dig into yourself about, are you ready for that? Are you ready to be, like I said, vulnerable? Are you ready to be challenged? Because if you're not ready to be vulnerable and ready to be challenged, then you're not going to be ready for that next stage. And then you know what? Are you ready to approach the tough questions? One thing else I know, at this point in my life, I ain't got time to play around with you. I need to get straight to the nitty gritty. So this is where I am. This is where I want to be. This is where I'm striving to be. Like,
Right.
this is where I am. And I know, because back, when you're younger, you kind of feel like, you date for a while, you go out for a couple of months. And let's be honest, y'all ready to engage in some activity you ain't supposed to be engaged into. Them things have been, you kind of playing this game. The game's over. Like, at this point in my life, this is where I'm at. This is where I'm trying to be. And I got to know, are you ready for that? You know what I'm saying? But I have to be ready to let you in my world. I have to be ready to be vulnerable. I have to be ready to say, I've looked at myself. I've examined myself. And this is where I need to be. And also, I can let you know what my struggles are. I can let you know why I'm struggling. If I'm not the greatest organizer, I can say, hey, look, ma'am, I'm not the greatest organizer. You know what I'm saying? But if I can talk to you about that, let you know, and she's a fantastic organizer, man, that's fantastic, because that's one of my biggest struggles. But I can let you know about me. It's not down. I'm just saying these were my strengths and my weaknesses. So kind of like an interview. You know, I interview, I always tell you what's some of your biggest weaknesses. You'd be like, what kind of interview question is that? Why you want to know about my weaknesses? But if I can tell you about my weaknesses or some things I've struggled with, because remember, my goal is I want you to be my best friend.
Right.
I want you to know where areas where I've struggled in my life, not so you can bring it up and criticize it and use it against me, but where you can uplift me, and say, you know what, hey, this is where you said you wanted to be, and I want you to be the best man God will have you to be. But like I said, am I willing to let you in my world and be vulnerable to that? Like I said, Nikki talked about those definitions. Am I ready to let those definitions now define my life? Because a lot of us know the definitions, they just don't define who I am. Now I'm ready to let those definitions define me and say, this is who my lifestyle is. This is my lifestyle. Because now those definitions of loving, affection, long suffering, I'm now letting those define me, besides just knowing the definition of them.
That's good. And that's good for singles as well. I mean, that's going to be anybody.
But and like what Nikki said, because marriage don't start after I do. Being a good husband or wife, that's not
before.
That's before. So if you're not in preparation right now, that's not things I wish at church I felt we could have probably grown up touched a lot more. Because a lot of times I think we're in our culture wise, we get everybody ready for get your degree, go ahead and get the high school, go ahead and get your bachelor's, get your master's, even if you want to get your doctorate, get you a house, get you a car. And let's be honest, by this time, if I'm pushing those things, those world things, there's nothing wrong with those. But I'm not pushing the spiritual aspect of you knowing yourself to want to be a better husband and wife. Well, when that time comes around, how are you going to know? How are you going to be a good husband and good wife? Well, no, I taught you how to get a master's in the house and stuff like that. So I think right now in our culture, we got so money driven and so success driven that we done forgot the importance of marriage and really having a partner, and y'all build towards those things together. Not that there's nothing wrong with success, but then again, if I'm in my late 30s or 40s, and not so much necessarily by age, but I done did so much, and I've allowed so many partners, and we know we my partners, and we done engaged in things, so many or so much trauma and baggage to enter my life. Well, when God sent that person, I'm not going to be ready. I might not even be ready, because I don't let so much happen trying to chase these this house, this car, and stuff like that, which our culture right now has turned to a big shift of being successful in the worldly aspect, but then we're struggling in the family aspect. We're struggling when it comes to marriage. We struggle when it comes to raising our kids. Why? Because we've allowed the culture to dictate: be success, be money driven, be hungry, go out there and grind out there and go out there and get it. Yet I
Right.
don't know nothing about the foundations of a marriage, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever I thought I knew. It's from childhood or what I saw from somebody else did, but I don't even know myself. All I know about myself is I can go to work. I
Right.
can bring home a paycheck. I don't know how to
Mm-hmm.
love you as a husband. I don't even know how I'm supposed to be as a husband.
And
Because,
that's no. Go
But
ahead.
that's I think that's what you're saying is it's okay to have those things before you get married. Some struggles you don't have to go through. Some
no,
financial struggles we don't have to go through. I guess it's what you're saying is we're so prepared for everything else, but not prepared for marriage. Maybe
well,
that's
we
Well,
don't
I
put.
look. Oh, go
Go
ahead.
ahead. No, I'm sorry. I'm saying for now. I'll let you go right into something. We don't put such a value on materialistic things and those things first over God. None of those things are supposed to ever succeed God. My career is never supposed to come over God. My success and what I do when I don't work is never supposed to be the man or woman I'm supposed to be in God. If I desire the truly those things, let's be honest, most of us are not designed to be alone. I only know in my lifetime I might have met one Paul. I mean one true Paul. I mean this person could be good by themselves. They was good. Out of that, a lot of us need that interaction. But I'm saying when we get to the point where we don't put God, I mean, excuse me, our career and our success over God. There's nothing wrong with those things at all. I don't. You should never
yeah.
have a bum type of. I would never tell any woman be a man and he's not driven, not want to be successful, or a woman who doesn't have some type of definition as a good woman. No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is make sure that God comes first. As a matter of fact, if God comes first, I'm gonna do those things naturally anyway.
Right.
I
Yeah.
naturally want to go out there and be successful. I'm a naturally want to give glory to God as I strive to do things, but I need to know what kind of man God will have me to be.
Mm-hmm.
But go ahead.
And
What
and I was just gonna say, like, I do think that we need to talk about it more in church, because uh, marriage and family, it's an example for the world. Like that's
Mhm.
what God put in place
Yeah.
so that they can see Christ's relationship with the church.
correct.
Hmm.
And so
It
when we're
is.
not when we're not abiding by God's covenant, God's law, we're throwing the world off. They don't have anything to see. If the like Elder Chavez, one of our elders, always used to say,
Yes.
you're the you might be the only Bible that people see. And
Right.
Yeah.
so people should want to be like, ooh, I want that relationship. How do their kids, act like that? How do they love each other like that? How does that, like that should be the goal. Like, our relationships, because we are following God's law, and the way that
Right.
the way that he, the what he put in place, And so another
Right.
thing that Nikki you has said, which I think is a great idea, is like, what about all when you're a single, not just, I think married people too, but as a single, I think as a single person, they should be involved in the church. They should be
Even
serving.
more.
They should be serving, because that is how they're going to learn grace and
Hmm.
love and like all of these things that they need. Grace, mercy, love is not envious. Like all of these things, they're going to learn that by serving in the church. Like right now, I think it's a lot of married couples, just because that's, like, well, as far as our church, this kind of, what we are, whatever, I guess. Well, not, it's not, we got a lot of singles too, but I don't know. I just feel like in the church as a whole, because we're all part of one body, I think that I think the singles, when they start to do that and their mind is focused on, okay, what God wants me to do instead of the world or my friends or like
Hmm.
all of these things, I think they'll become more prepared for marriage.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. It's funny you say that. I told my son, my oldest son, at 18, he was like, I think I want to marry my girlfriend. Thinking in my head, boy, stop. But whatever. I said, okay, well, this is just to see if you ready, just to test it. And he was like, what? I said, pay her cell phone bill for a couple of months. And he's like, how that's gonna show that I love her and everything? I said, son, if you can't pay her cell phone bill, baby, you're not ready to marry that girl. Not once did he pay that girl's cell phone bill. Not 1 month. Okay. I just wanted to show him that it's sacrifice. It's
Right.
above you, not and truth. He is supposed to provide for her,
Mm.
but I just wanted to show him like it's sacrifice in there. It's whatever it took for you because he wasn't working. Whatever it takes for you to pay her cell phone bill, do that. Then you can see how just a taste of what your sacrifice is supposed to be like. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and I've told my daughter several things before, like, okay, because girls have to be dramatic. I'm like, okay, see if you can handle your brothers without yelling for a couple minutes, and not saying what she's doing, just you have to work on some of these things. You have to start sacrificing before the actual sacrifice comes. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you have to start thinking above yourself before it comes because that's what marriage is thinking above you, you know. So yeah, I think those things are good for if you want to get married again or if you're single.
Mm-hmm.
Dating, I think dating properly is key.
Mm-hmm.
If you are doing things outside of God's will, then there's no way you're listening to him on discernment. You
Mm-hmm.
know, there's no way you could hear him say this ain't the right one. Y'all already outside of his will. You're already engaged. And you know what? Everybody wants marriage, but doesn't nobody want to do it the right way. God created marriage. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? He created this covenant, but everybody wants it, but nobody wants to do it his way. Or nobody wants to listen to how he says do it.
Right.
You're already doing these things outside of his will, chances are you're not be able to pick the right partner. Not saying that that doesn't happen. People do get married and they go closer to God and everything's okay. But you just don't want to take a chance on it.
No, no, I think that's just the biggest thing too. I think a lot of us right now we're just taking too many risks, or we don't need to take risk.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, because we don't want to listen. Because when I don't want to listen, I don't want to do it God's way. So I put myself in a bad position because I didn't want to do it God's way initially, and so
Mm-hmm.
that can be a tough thing because a lot of times when you're in something, you don't want to say, man, you know what, I did this wrong. And like sometimes when you in something, like I did this wrong. I encouraged a friend of mine. I said, hey, you know what? Hey, if you're in something and you feel like it's not going, when we gotta be able to talk about it, say, hey, you know what? We haven't been going down the right path, and can we
Right.
now address this? But I think a lot of us are putting ourselves in bad situations just because we don't want to approach the tough situations up front, or like I said, we're risking too much for the easier path to marriage. You know what I'm saying? With the easier path, meaning, like I
What
said,
is the
not
easier path to marriage?
yeah, I mean, because it's
Right.
easy it's a path when you're shacking up with someone, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing,
Mm.
and you're laying in the bed just having sex all day. That's easy. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't require much. But like kind of like what y'all talking about, because if you're talking about being a servant, well, if she's in serving with God every day and every Sunday, and I'm doing my service with God, and I'm seeing her lifestyle, then now we can look at each other from a spiritual aspect. Because the easiest thing is, like I said, and I'll tell you mine's real quick. Because
Mm-hmm.
I got married, and then all of a sudden I'll tell everybody this story. You know what I'm saying? So it was Christmas, and all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden during Christmas, I invited my family over to me and this young lady's house, and we was not married, and I already knew with my family this is already on 10. So man, my parents coming to the house, and my sisters coming to the house, and I already felt like, oh my God, the house is on fire. I mean, the house is lit. I mean, oh my God, I brought my family into hell. This is not right. Lord, forgive me. But more importantly, because I knew the standard and I wasn't living up to the standard that God, more important, that God had for me. And I
Mm-hmm.
knew it. And sometimes, when we that's why I say easier path, because I knew at that
Mm-hmm.
point, well, all right, let me just go ahead and marry this person. I'm getting a little bit older. I didn't
Gotcha.
do anything. I didn't consult God. I didn't put, ask God for his advice or understanding about this marriage. All I knew was for me was, oh Lord, I don't want to go to hell. The house is on fire, and let me go ahead and hurry up and jump in this, marriage thing. So my parents don't think I'm about to go to hell tomorrow. Because if something happened tomorrow, I'm like, Lord, forgive me. Lord, forgive me. But kind of like what Nikki said in the beginning, marriages, they don't fix anything. They enhance everything.
Mm.
Marriage is just an enhancer. So all marriage does is magnify. Because I'll tell you this. Me and my person I was married to before, we went to a counselor, a marriage counselor, and I will encourage anybody to go to counseling even before you get
Oh,
married.
for
Please go to
Amen.
sure. For
Yes.
marriage
sure.
counseling is extremely important because it lets you approach some of the difficult stuff up front that you might not even be thinking about while you're in
Yes.
that honeymoon stage.
Yep.
But I will say this: he was like, "Y'all ain't even friends." And so when his counselor was telling me that, I'm thinking to myself, I don't like this girl at all, no matter what I do. And so, and not that I understand this, but we couldn't communicate. I, and let me tell you, because the first time we did counseling, not saying it wasn't bad, but it wasn't digging deep enough. Because sometimes,
Mm,
you gotta
Yeah, I do think a
right,
lot
give
of
somebody. Yeah, a lot of times we did people who
it be
might know us.
surface stuff.
Yeah, don't be
right.
surface stuff. I mean, somebody who's gonna really dig into your counseling, like somebody who doesn't know either of you, somebody who's not
Mhm.
afraid to dig in and say, "Hey, this is what this is." But you need somebody who's really be brutally honest. Because if we're
Yeah,
about to enter into marriage, there should be, and understand something. This is what God has for us. There's no shame in going to marriage counseling. You shouldn't be scared of it. You should embrace it. Actually, it's like, hey, this is
right.
gonna be the person I'm gonna be for my life. Let's go get marriage counseling.
But you
Because
know what, Summer? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Stu.
no, go
Well, no,
ahead. What you
what I
want?
was gonna say is it's 7:01, and we
Oh,
normally just do an hour.
oh,
But I didn't realize there were some questions in the chat, so I'm gonna play this little commercial, and then if you guys are good, I'm gonna read some of the questions. Is that okay with you guys? You
yeah,
have
Oh
time
yeah.
that's
for
fine.
that? Okay. So let me just so we want to thank our sponsor, One Church in Christ. All of the and these are members of One Church in Christ on here as well. And so that they are our sponsors for this show, and we just appreciate everything that they do, all the love and support that they give. So we're gonna play this commercial.
Hello, family. I'm Pastor Seal, and I'd like to welcome you to One Church in Christ. Join us live this Sunday at 11 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time, where we'll be broadcasting on YouTube and Facebook Live. Come with a listening heart and be inspired. We can't wait to see you there.
So if you would on Facebook, One Church in Christ, or on YouTube, click subscribe or follow, and then you'll be notified when we go live. We live stream. Or you can join us at church. And just DM us, and then we can give you that information because we travel sometimes. So, okay. Okay. So, I'm going to read off some comments. Um, Sister Lugo says, Nikki, you'll make a wonderful nurse. You'll make a great nurse.
Thank
Uh,
you. Thank you.
and somebody said dope. I don't know what to. Here's a question. How should men and women prepare for marriage?
I think I would say this. I think the best way to prepare for marriage is to have your own relationship with God.
Mm.
I think that is the best way to establish who you are in Christ before you get married. Like we said, counseling to know what love is, to know who you are. Like, baby, I don't like to cook. And I'm going to tell you up front, you're going to get 2 meals, hopefully 2 to 3.
that's right.
But you can't lie about yourself because that's what I
Right.
did before I got married. I was giving that man food every day. He's like, "Why you don't like cooking?" He's like, "You always fed me." I was like, "Oh no, my mama fed you. I just made the plate."
Deception is another thing you can't do.
Right,
So
right.
be honest about who you are. Know who you are in God. Establish your relationship with Christ first. You
Mhm.
have to have your own relationship with Christ and find somebody that, as far as a woman, that you can follow. It's important that you can follow him because you are called to follow him. So
Mhm.
find someone that you can follow.
And I would say for men, I would just say make sure you're ready to be vulnerable and make sure you're ready to lead. And to lead, I must be vulnerable. And like I said, I must be vulnerable where my position is, be the man God will have me to be, and be ready to be challenged because you're going to be challenged, but that's not a bad thing. Like I said, but strive to be the man God will have you be. But yeah, those big things of just being vulnerable and ready to be challenged.
Can I also say something? It required one of CJ's comments when he was like, happy wife, happy life. I just want to say that a woman, she really sets the tone, the environment for her home.
Mhm.
If you can really change what you don't like about your husband, by your kindness, you set the tone for your home. if you're constantly mean or nagging or the Bible says it's better for a man to be on the roof than with a quarrel.
Right.
Your softness can soften him.
Oh yeah.
And I know it seems like women has to bear a lot, but I
I
think
didn't
God
say nothing. I was just listening. What are you talking about?
bear things. But your softness, the way you speak to him, the way you give him life, because really the helpmates that we are is the help that God is. So if I know that he's supposed to find that type of help in me, then I can give that type of help to you. God, you know what I'm saying? I can give the love you need because I know that's what you need from me. I can give you this softness because I know that's what I'm supposed to give you. Like your attitude, your position really does affect your home.
Mm.
Yeah, and I would say real quick on that. Two things. One thing I learned real quick after my marriage: women are natural multipliers, and men are supposed to supply the vision. So
Yes.
as a man, I'm supposed to supply the vision, and she's supposed to multiply. Women, we naturally give them something; they're going to naturally multiply. As a man, if I'm looking for her to be that type of woman to where speak life, I want to make sure I'm giving her that vision. I'm giving her that comfort,
Ooh,
that
you
space.
giving her life. Yes.
I'm giving her that so she knows she can multiply that and give it right back to me. I gotta be able to give that. So understand something because sometimes I think it's man, some of the men in the world nowadays we get, oh well, she mean because I'm and so no, you gotta lead. I don't ever want to hear you fail because of what the woman did. That's how what God came with Adam. I don't care about what Eve. So what I'm saying is as a man, I have to provide the vision. Let her know how I want the home to be, and she will naturally multiply that. So then she know, hey babe, this is what and as a man, don't be afraid to speak up and say that. Say what you need. Say what it is. Because guess what? If you don't close mouth, don't get fed. Literally. So if you don't say it, she's gonna be like, "Well, you didn't say nothing. How am I supposed to know that's what you wanted me to be?" So if she don't cook 2 or 3 meals, you in trouble. If that's something you know.
Oh,
You need.
not with me because I told you up front that I don't cook more than 2 or 3 meals. Okay, now I'm always gonna feed you. So you let me know your
Right, you
favorite
gonna be
restaurant.
hungry.
You
Yeah.
let me know your favorite fast food place and your favorite, because I'm always gonna feed you, but I'm not always gonna cook it. You know what I'm saying? And if
So
you get me to cook a 4th meal, baby, you must have been doing something that week.
Bro.
Cause and if you
hopefully
don't like leftovers, because I'm
he
gonna make
was-
enough spaghetti for 2 or 3 days.
yeah.
Listen.
Hopefully
Okay, let's go. Let's move on to the next question. What are some practical steps to keep God first in marriage as you strive to maintain stability and achieve God's promised prosperity? So I'll say it again. What are some practical steps to keep God first in the marriage as you strive to maintain stability and achieve God's promised prosperity?
I'm gonna say this real quick first. Now I'll go ahead. There's one thing I learned from me. First thing is self-reflection between you and God first. So one thing I wish I would have did first in my marriage, I wish I would have took time every morning to self-reflect between me and God. What's going on? What kind of man am I? What the way I want my family to be? That me and God have that time first in the morning. Second, my wife. I go ahead and I confirm how much I love her, how much I want us to be on the same path of God. We pray together that morning. We talk about our goals and things like that, the way God wants us to be. So the for me, it would be like a self-reflection first from you and God. And then secondly, go in there and then, like I said, telling your wife and speaking with her, like I said, what the vision is, what we're striving to be, and where we're striving to be in God. That's one thing I wish I would have did better, was more self-reflection with God, and then being able to go then, because sometimes we'll be so in, we get caught up in stuff. Like if I get caught up in all the drama, the anger, I'm caught up in it and I can't see it. So I need to take that step back with me and God and look what's going on and see what's going on and see how every morning, if I start my day intentionally, what I said, well, man, we have to be intentional with God. Then I can then go convey that out to my wife. Hey, wife, this is where we at. And this is where I see where we at and where we're heading. What do you think? Now let us talk as husband and wife. So those be my steps. Like I said, that initial, like I said, self-reflection and time with God, and then going out wife and praying with her, and then y'all talk about your path.
I would say, I agree with CJ because even if you think about Christ and his ministry, once he was done with the people, he always went back to the Lord. He always went to prayer. He always went to get his cup filled. He always allowed God to fill his cup. So I will agree with that. I think even what you and Brian do, y'all always go to marriage seminars, or y'all do counseling. That is very important to keep counseling throughout your marriage. Um, go to seminars, be around other married couples. Or you know what? And I hate the stigmatism that a single person can't help a married person, because the way I am, baby, I don't want you to be divorced.
Right.
You know, I feel like I tell me, I can try to maybe help you. Like, okay, wait, what? Maybe you should try it this way, because I don't want you to go down the path I did. You know, surround yourself with people who
learn
really,
from that
yeah,
mistake. And you
yes.
learn from that growth.
Surround yourself with people who really want to honor your marriage, who really want your marriage to succeed. But definitely refilling yourself in God. I just think if you think are seeking the kingdom daily, we're supposed to do that as our daily self, and everything else will be added unto us. So
And
definitely in marriage, you really need to be seeking God daily, because you are trying to be two people becoming one. And only God can do that. You know, only God can make two people one.
Yes.
and be romantic. There's nothing wrong with being romantic. I don't
They
understand.
talk about keeping
Yeah,
God's the practical steps. Study your word, pray.
and be romantic. Like ain't nobody want to
Yes.
know. Date your wife, have fun. Everybody always think marriage is like this Disney thing. First of all, marriage is a God thing, and God
Right.
knows how to have a good time in a marriage better than Disney ever did. Marriage
Right.
is not a Disney
Mhm.
thing. It's not fake.
And,
It's realistic. So no, have fun with your wife. Have a good time with your husband. Act like y'all grown and have a good time. Quit playing
and let me
around.
just say something real quick.
Yeah,
Your body is not yours when you're married. Your
Right.
body is that other person's. Okay.
I'll say
So
it
y'all
again for the
out
people in the
here
back. Say it again for the people in the back.
trying to withhold some
Say
things
it
because
again
y'all
for the people in the
mad.
back.
Or first of all, I don't. Even though we was mad, I never withheld anything because I wanted just as much.
Yeah.
So
And you're becoming one.
yes, your body is not sure what their
That's
issues.
keeping God first in the marriage.
It really is. He
Ask
gave
your
it for
man what he
marriage.
needs that morning. Ask your man what he needs that morning.
Ask your woman as well
Ask
what
your
she
Yes.
needs.
She gonna hear my point.
Yes.
Ask what she needs as well.
Right. Okay, let's
But
move
yes.
to the next question. Great answers. Okay. Should people be open to date people in their church? How can churches help foster prosperous dating?
Oh.
First of all, I would say absolutely 100%. You can date within the church. I think, like I said, when you see another person in the servant space of trying to be the woman or man God would have them to be, that's a great way to see them. And that's also an insight to how they may be in a marriage. Now, here's the thing. Just because y'all went church together, don't even mean that's the one for you, though. It doesn't
Right.
mean that's going to be the one. It doesn't mean we are matched made in heaven because we both go to church or even both go to the same congregation. That doesn't mean, but what it does allow me to do is see you in that light. And I want to be able to see you in your light, how God is illuminating through you. And I see that. And I realize that you can be a benefit and a blessing to my life. So, sometimes that's like people used to tell me, should I date my best friend? Because I don't want to mess up my marriage because that's my best friend. No, date your best friend. I mean, if it's worth it, like date somebody who you can really laugh and love and be your whole self with. And they know your path. If they know you're striving to be the man or woman God, why not start there first? Why not somebody who really knows where I'm striving to be? So as me, hands down, yes.
I think that's good. Yeah, I agree. And I was thinking like, you can see somebody serving, like you said, you see somebody serving, you're like, oh, okay. And I think it's good because you're getting the same
Foundation.
foundation, So
Yes.
yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead, Nikki.
And let's
No,
be
no, no,
honest.
no. I'm just going off what you said.
Yeah, and I'll say this real quick because let's be honest, in the world we live in, a lot of people already have kids before they get into a marriage. So I need to, if I'm a man, I see how you are with your kids if they're at church. I see how you are with your kids if you're at church. How they're serving. Like I see the moves that you're trying to make. And if I'm and to me, there's nothing. I find it very appealing if I see a woman in God and bring her kids to church because that lets me know, hey, we have the same foundation, but she's striving to raise the kids also. And whatever decisions she's done made, and I done made some mistakes too. I just might not have the kids, and she did. She got caught up where I didn't. But it does, but it allows me to see her in that light and allows me to open myself up to her to that point of being in love with her because I see what she's doing with her kids. And like I said, man, you know what? That's the kind of mother I want for my kids. So I would love to be able to see that.
I would say that when I married my spouse, he necessarily didn't go to church. And that is just one thing in my marriage that I wish I would have had, because if I'm spending all this time in church with me and my kids and my spouse is not there, like we're not even spending time together. You want somebody y'all are engaged in the same activities where God is just as important to you as it is to them, because that's really a form of spending time with each other as well. If I have
Right.
to be at the church all day on Saturday doing a pantry, and you hate coming to church, and I'm not saying he did, but I'm just saying
Right.
that can be a part of us spending time together. We're going to get the stuff together. We're packing it, we're talking to people together. We're ministering together. That's a part of our intimacy. That's a part of growing us as well together. But the question that you said, how can a church help in dating? I think is
How
very
can churches
important.
help foster prosperous dating?
Yes, you know what? I think the church can give accountability. Man, it's kind of tricky if y'all going to the same church and y'all was a breakup or something. So, but I think the church can help. I think the church can, maybe a pastor, or not even necessarily the pastor, someone there can help you guys navigate dating, navigate healthy dating, Christian dating. So I think the church can help in those ways. Maybe get people accountability partners. We might think that's too much, but really, it's accountability, and having accountability to partners. You definitely need those in marriage.
Right.
It's definitely becoming one, and you need your village just as much as you need your village and anything else. Church is a family. We're all united in the Lord. So I think if everybody be like, oh my gosh, they're dating now, maybe I can give them advice or give them this advice. Or it really had to be horrible if y'all broke up, but
Mm.
no, maybe it's somebody in another congregation. Yeah, I don't know. But I
No,
think the church can hold you guys accountable. The church can create environments, maybe singles night, dating night. I think the church can help you date correctly.
Just the knowledge, I think, like what we're talking about, like about
Mhm.
what a covenant is,
Yeah.
and I think when that is the norm, where our kids and adults are thinking about that, that will drive prosperous dating, because it's like, okay, I don't even want to date you. Like, I'm not even going to spend my time talking to you,
Yeah.
because I know that I can't submit to you, because
Mhm.
you aren't in church. We're not equally yoked. But I think that too. I agree. And then, like, have dances, or have,
Yeah.
maybe things like that, like things that are where you have the what is it, like if you go to a dance and you got people there, what is it? Chaperones,
Okay.
so,
Yeah. Mhm.
but so
Mhm.
we're all, the church is the chaperone. We're all looking, and
Yeah.
that's what, and I would say for young dating, yes, to older dating, don't have everybody in your business. Don't have
oh yeah.
everybody in your church in your business. But I say the church could talk more about the subject, kind of what Nikki said. If y'all have more of those events where you are doing the feeding the food, the homeless people, and I can see you in that light environment, I think that's the congregation helping. Talk
Mhm.
more about it, be more intentional about marriages, talk more about marriages. But like, go see that person in that light of what they like to do, whether that's serving on type of whatever ministry board they want to. Like I said, I just want to see that person in that light. But yeah, don't have everybody your mama in your business neither, even in church, because some people just messy.
So we do have some people also saying, like, that was a great question, powerful, great answer. Kia said, what we do is have sex first, fall into sin, then we want to ask or seek the spiritual side of a person.
Mhm.
Yeah, so these are just some comments. But so another question. So we got like three more questions, and then so somebody wants you to explain that. What does that mean, outside of his will? I can't remember. Somebody was maybe
Oh, I
said
said
something
that.
about. Oh, okay.
Um,
Well, what do you mean by that?
So dating outside of God's will. Um, so if you guys are, well, we're just gonna say sex, engaging in sex before marriage, you're already outside of God's will. So how am I really gonna know if this is the right person for me? Because I'm not even listening. I can't even get full discernment if I'm grieving the Holy Spirit. If I'm not, if because sex
That's good.
confuses things. You can't hear clearly if you're not if you're not thinking up here, you know what I'm saying? So I'm already outside of the Lord's will. I need to get back inside of his boundaries, because in his boundaries I can hear him. I need to get back. I need to close off the things, because you can't discern well if you're not in alignment. And God doesn't dwell in sin. So he's not there. You're not in alignment with him. Now he's telling you to come out of that, so then he can show you. He can show
Right.
you this is the right person for you. But while you guys are engaging in it, and not even just sex, if y'all are getting drunk, if y'all are getting high, you're not thinking with a godly mind. You're not thinking with discernment. And God's discernment is within his boundaries.
Okay, I like that. Okay. So the second question is, does God honor marriages? like, is it possible to have been married outside of God's will? Like, could you? It's the question sounds like, can you get married and not be in God's will?
Yes.
Does he? Oh, the question is, does God honor all marriages? Like, so if you outside of God's will and you get married, does God honor that marriage?
If you're outside of God's will,
yeah. Like, is it possible to have to marry someone outside of God's will? Like, for instance, in our situations, like, when we said we weren't listening to God and we got married, it was what we wanted.
Was it a godly marriage?
Yeah,
God
I mean,
do. Does God honor those marriages?
So the Bible talks about in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, it talks about marriage and those who are in the body and then those who are out the body. It talks about, so somebody, let's say if somebody's out the body and they want to go ahead and leave, the Bible tells you to let them leave. And you're in the body and they're out the body. There are those, so God recognizes the marriage, but I think what you need to understand is you're going to have because some people want to go ahead and do it anyway. You're going to have an uphill battle 24/7, and you have to be ready for the differences that's going to be ahead. So does God acknowledge the marriage? Yes, he acknowledges the marriage, but then
I believe so.
Yeah, he acknowledges the marriage, but you have to understand what kind of marriage that you're really in. Like I said, because I think one thing about me, I will say this: I was fighting for a marriage where someone wanted to leave, and I shouldn't have. And because when the Bible talking about 1 Corinthians chapter 7 about them wanting to leave and they need to go ahead and let them leave, I think a lot of times people jump into divorce rather than and forget about separation. Separation is something you can do legally from a spiritual standpoint. You can separate from another for a short period of time and see how things are. Separation is a great way to kind of help air things out and kind of hopefully you can rekindle things. But God recognizes the marriage, but I think you need to be careful that you're not fighting for something that's because someone wants to leave and they're not in. Let them go. Let them go. So the person I was not in the body as I was. They wanted to leave. And first I was like, no, we gonna be married. We gonna work this thing out. And they was adamant. They wanted to get out this thing. Okay, right. I'm by myself. It's time. I need to let you go. So sometimes we gotta be where we're fighting for the right things.
I think I would just want to say, just going to what he just said, 1 Corinthians 7. I think, I know God still honors that marriage. You still got married. It don't matter whether they were believing or not, because it says a wife, this is 1 Corinthians 7:12. A wife who is not believer and she is willing to continue living with him, let her live with him. He must not leave her. So that means he's honoring. He's telling you somebody is not a believer, but you must not leave her if she continues living with you. So God has honored that marriage, or he wouldn't have to say that. And it says, if a believing woman has a husband who is not a believer and he is willing to continue living with her, she must not leave him because you got married. Whether you got married within God's instructions or not, you got married, and God honors that marriage.
It's kind of like Abraham and Hagar. So Hagar end up having sex with Abraham, but they get married to Abraham. And so because of that marriage, because who she had the baby with, Ishmael, God still recognized that. It wasn't the fact. Now the promise wasn't going to come through him, but God still recognized Ishmael and Hagar very, very much because who she was entangled with, even though she was outside, she wasn't Jewish at all. And so same way in the marriage, God still does the same thing. He still recognizes it. But like I said, we need to read and study the qualification. Like I said, because there's so much that goes in the divorce aspect. Because a lot of us want to make sure we're on divorce on the right terms, the right ground. If you are divorced, that's another big thing that maybe we can talk about another time. Because being after divorce, you want to make sure, am I in the right space? Am I spiritually okay? Like I said, but don't fight for. And that's probably my biggest thing what I've learned, because a lot of us are battling for marriages that have. Person bye, but yes, go ahead.
Well, I wouldn't say don't fight for your marriage.
No, I'm not saying like
if somebody wants to leave,
intentionally.
If somebody wants to leave,
I'm not saying not fight for your marriage. So
because there should be several steps taken before divorce, because God does not take divorce lightly.
Correct. No, but not saying like this, because there's going to be consequences no matter what you do. That's another thing. You're going to reap what you sow. And even myself, I'm gonna reap. I'm reaping what I've sown years ago. So you're gonna reap what you sow. And there's consequences for anybody. So yes, there are consequences, but I know
But
there
I
are
do
some
believe
people.
God recognizes a marriage, whether you
Yeah,
believe you
yeah,
married in
well,
God or not.
yeah,
It was still recognized because
yeah,
most
we
of the
still
time y'all
recognize.
all got married in a church.
Yes, but if
Mhm.
you fighting, they ready to go. Let them go. Go ahead.
Okay, the last question is let's make it short because it's 7:25.
Okay.
So this one says, what are your thoughts on Malachi 2:16? So I'll read it. Malachi 2:16, and I'm reading out of the New King James Version.
Hmm.
It says, for the Lord God of Israel says that he hates divorce, for it
Mhm.
covers one's garment with violence, says the Lord of hosts. Therefore, take heed to your spirit that you do not deal treacherously.
I think very much we know. I think everybody know God hates divorce. That's not. I mean, so that's good. I mean, God hate divorce absolutely. So I think it's telling us to obviously make sure we're wise about our decisions and how we enter into marriage. I think, like I said, nowadays we've taken marriage so lightly as kind of like a general dating tool. Like I
Mm-hmm.
know somebody for a while, and then we end up getting married. And a lot of times, and we talked about that earlier, kind of letting fear dictate you jump into a marriage. Don't let fear dictate you jump into marriage right now, and we already know God hates divorce. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not understanding that God. It's not something that God wants. God doesn't, because we understand that what marriage represents Christ in the church,
Yeah.
if it's in there. So we understand that. But like I said, but no, make your choice extremely wisely. And if you're in a marriage that's struggling and in a marriage that's having a hard time, y'all gotta be ready to have a tough conversation of what we need to work on if you're really going. I mean, be intentional about working on your marriage. Hey, we're in a bad marriage. We're in a struggling marriage. A lot of times we're afraid to say those things. I'm in a bad marriage. I'm in a struggling marriage. Hey, me and you, let's go get counsel. Let's talk about this. We have to be open with one another. We're trying to build this right. But yeah, do I believe that God absolutely hates it and doesn't want it? Absolutely. But
Oh,
he
yeah.
also does give things where you can go ahead and divorce your partner. Still doesn't mean he likes it, but he
Mm-hmm.
does give you where there's certain occasions that can happen and you can divorce your partner, but it still doesn't mean he wants a divorce. But like I said, I think a lot of times nowadays we don't water down marriage so much that we don't even understand how important it is. So but yes, but I agree with that wholeheartedly. Like I said, but you have to be intentional about who you're going to marry to before you marry them, and if you're struggling in one right now, have that tough conversation. Don't be afraid to have a tough conversation about what we're struggling in our marriage, and saying we're struggling right now, or say I'm struggling, because somebody else may be happy and think the marriage is going great. Another person may be struggling.
Can I
Okay.
just say something real quick?
Mm-hmm.
God hates marriage, and I believe that
He hates
wholeheartedly.
divorce.
Divorce.
I'm just sorry, divorce, yes, and I believe that wholeheartedly because it
Yeah.
represents His Son and the
Mm-hmm.
church, which He loves dearly.
Yeah.
Before, because me and my husband separated about 7 years into our marriage, we didn't finally get divorced until 7 years later. Before I even divorced him, maybe about 6 to 7 months before, I sent him a text message saying, you know, we've been separated for so long and I can't keep living like this. So I'm willing to go to counseling. Like, mind you, we've been separated for 6 years. It's a lot that done got in between there. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, Lord, before I even do this, I'm going to try one more time just because I know how much He loves marriage. I was willing to put myself on a back burner because I couldn't even imagine being in the same house with him anymore. And,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, if you are willing to fix this issue, and not that I was going to go back to him because alcoholism is something that has to be fixed before
Mm-hmm.
you can even do marriage counseling. AA has to come first. But if you are willing to fix this issue, I will give you the time to fix it. And then maybe we can talk about coming back together again. And if he would have said yes, I would have left everything and clung to my husband. Not moved in with him, but helped him to get it fixed. Not together anymore because there was abuse there. But the
Mm-hmm.
abuse was because of the alcoholism. But I would have stood and waited until he got the AA, until I saw that he was making steps. Because alcoholism is it's a hard thing to break.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying it would have been easy, but I would have committed to being his wife still. I would have did everything I could as far as us being separate to being his wife still. I sent one last message after years because I know how much God hates divorce.
Mm-hmm.
If he would have said yes, if he would have just put himself aside, said, I'm going to do this for you, for our marriage, I would have waited. I would, no matter how long it would, I would have been committed to being his wife, not living together at that time because abuse is not acceptable, but
Mm-hmm.
until he was able to fix his alcoholism. So
Mm-hmm.
I think you should do everything you can to stop to not have the divorce. Now, there's different ways if somebody leaves. You can't help that. If there's
Right.
infidelity, God gives permission on those. But in my case, it really wasn't those things. But
Mm-hmm.
abuse is not accepted either because God doesn't love us that way. But I would have committed to staying his wife if he
Mm-hmm.
would have said he was going to fix those things. So I just say that to say God hates it. And anything that we can do to try to prevent it, we should. Now, unfortunately, that wasn't the case. I was met with anger and hostility and all kind of things. So I said, Lord, I tried. Forgive me. I tried. And, I went ahead and did it. But it's just saying how much we should try.
Mm-hmm.
That should be ultimately our last resort. And you should be putting yourself aside before you make those decisions. It should not be made with just your feelings.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this was good. People said, so I think you answered somebody's a question. They were, what occasion can I get a divorce? And you did, talk about that, Nikki. And then they said, I love that, willing to keep trying. So this was a great show. Listen, we might have to do another one and go,
Yes, so
cause
there were so many things that we had not, but it was a great show. I loved it.
yeah, so we might have to do a part two. A part two. What you think?
I think, man, that's good.
What?
Yeah, it was great.
I think we need to do a part two because it sounds like we got a lot of things to talk about, and I kind of want to get into for those people who, because like for me, my story is I I kept allowing the person to come back over and over and over again. One, willing to give them a chance and things like that, but like I was playing these things, these stigmatisms, like in my head, like, oh, God hates divorce. If you get divorced, you'll be an adulterer.
Yeah.
Like all of these different things, and so I was living in fear
Mm-hmm.
from that. And
Yeah.
then even after I got divorced, like I had to really, seek the Lord to heal
Mm-hmm.
me and just, repent, and all of these things. But, I just want to kind of get to that because that might, people who maybe need to separate or need to get
Yeah.
divorced, like that could be something that is hindering them. And then after they get divorced, that could be something that is,
Mm-hmm.
keeping
Mm-hmm.
them oppressed. You know what I mean? Instead of
Yeah.
like living in freedom.
Yeah. And for the person I said they'll keep trying, what is your story? You know what I'm saying?
No, keep trying. That's a
My son
very,
taught me.
yeah.
What talk to someone first. I don't
Mm,
know. I'm telling you from my story because we was not together. There was no way I was going to live with him when I kept trying because
mm,
he had a real problem. You know what I'm saying? I was going to be committed to being his wife, but he was have to willing to accept us living apart until he got that problem fixed. So,
mm,
what is your story? Don't talk to someone first.
right.
Talk to someone. I can just tell you from my experience and how much God hates divorce, but talk to someone because there are certain God does not. We are not supposed to live in physical abuse. That is not a godly marriage. You
Mm,
know. So talk to someone. When I say it, I'm speaking from my perspective because I would not have lived with him at that time, even if I was committed to being his wife. I was not going to live with him until that problem was fixed. So
mm.
talk to someone. You can reach out to me personally if you like. I'm never. I'm going to steer you according to the word. You know.
So how
Um,
can somebody, if because that's a good thing, maybe somebody does want to talk to somebody, you just offered yourself. How can they get in touch with you
um,
on
well,
Facebook?
maybe you can tag me on Facebook. Brittany.
Okay,
I should have put my full name on here. Como, Comeaux.
okay,
Um, so maybe you could tag us on there. But yes, definitely talk to someone because sometimes you need another perspective. You really
right.
do. If you're in a situation, that's why I couldn't really see what I did as far as my marriage until I got out of it. Then I was able to reflect because I'm healed. God is healing me at this point. So talk to someone because they can see what you can't, and they can give you a different perspective.
Okay, well, I'll see if I can do that. Tag you on the Facebook. I don't know if I can do that on YouTube, but on Facebook,
Oh, but
I'll.
you can put my name on. I don't know if I can write on there, but just put my Brittany Como, and that they'll find me on Facebook that way. Or I can
Okay.
just reply to the comment. It doesn't matter. But yes, definitely talk to someone. So I don't want you to. And God does forgive after a divorce. You
Oh
know, it's
yeah.
not the end. Divorce
No.
is not the end. It's a breaking. It's a death. But Christ was resurrected. It is not the end.
Amen. Amen. Well, this was a wonderful show. I want to thank both of you. What do you think, babe?
It was great.
No, he ready to go to sleep.
This is the
Thank you
first
for
time
having
we've
us.
gone over this long, but I think it was great. I really believe that this show is going to help some people. And if they have questions, reach out to Brittany or reach out to Xavier. I'm sure they both will love to share their story or, hear from you and lead you to what God has to say about it. So all right, I just want to thank you both. This was awesome.
Thank you so much.
Just stay right here and we'll end the stream. Everyone, please like and follow the Listening Heart on Facebook, on YouTube, and then also like and follow One Church in Christ on Facebook and YouTube. And then you'll be notified whenever we go live. So have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thank you.
Love you. See you in the next show.